This is the Check for Traps podcast, giving you a 0% rating before you were even born. Aaron, what the fuck is wrong with everyone?
People are insane.
Yeah.
They've taken the 21st Marvel film and they've turned it into a war.
Yep.
A culture war.
Yeah, no, seriously, I mean, this is, to clarify, a good thing. I mean, it's long overdue. They probably should have done this before now, like a female-led superhero movie.
I mean, I think it would have been less of an issue if they'd done it sooner. I think maybe, if it had been Iron Man, Hulk, Captain America, and then
Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah,
I think everyone would have been a lot more chill. But because there's been 20 and they've been failing to, and Wonder Woman, I don't think Wonder Woman helped anything with coming out in between
and being a DC movie,
yeah,
which for some reason doesn't count.
Yeah, exactly. But no, now it's this. Yeah, no one was kicking up a fuss about Wonder Woman.
No.
Do you reckon it's because Gal Gadot quite rightly kept quiet during the press tour?
I don't know though. Even that, I mean, there seems to be something like particularly incendiary about this very, very average movie. Like, see the thing is, I don't think people just flew off the handle just over the stuff that Brie Larson said. Like, I think people were flying off the handle beforehand. People on the far left and people on the far right. However you want to... You just... The bubble people who exist either in established liberal media or people in the kind of like guerrilla YouTube video essay who will say a movie is feminist propaganda as we've seen before they've even watched it.
Yeah.
But it ruins everything for everyone else. Like, it creates this insane, hysterical culture around what is just a Disney movie that exists only to try and solicit dollars from little girls as well as little boys.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's insane.
While watching this film, I'm like constantly aware of two different bubbles behind me.
Yeah.
One of which is like, you need to love this, and the other one's like, you need to hate this.
Over either of your shoulder. Yeah, and you know what? It's like the... I mean, I don't want to say the angel and the devil on the shoulder, but it's more like the two devils with weirdly contrasting views on the shoulder.
Yeah, like a trickster god, and then another slightly different trickster god.
From different religious pantheons. It made me really, really annoyed, because it's just, you open up whatever your chosen paper is, and there's some kind of just like ridiculously overblown opinion about what this means, and it's either that this is some kind of terrible thing, which obviously it's not, and that makes you lose faith in humanity. Or there's people on the other side saying that this is some kind of like massive victory for women.
Yeah, some sort of messianic homecoming for the female gender.
Which is also just like a false messiah.
Yeah.
Like you said with Messiah, because it's literally the Antichrist, because it's like all that's happened is people are now successfully selling stuff to you as well. Like, this isn't empowering. It's just... I mean, it's there needs to be more varied representation in media, but Disney know full well that the thing that generates so much money for these movies is people believing that they mean way more than they do. I mean, people have been making movies that star women, about women, for a long time. This just happens to be the first stupid superhero movie.
Well, it's like Black Panther, It's like, well, only the year or two before that we'd had so many great black-led, black-produced, black-directed films. But then Black Panther was the first, suddenly. Yeah. Despite not even being the first black superhero movie, as we all know.
Because, the greatest movie that was ever made happens to be Blade 2.
Exactly. And I gave you that lead. Not Blade 1, actually. Blade 1 is not actually a black superhero film, because it's not Blade 2. Very unfortunate.
Blade 2 superseded and replaced Blade 1.
And also there was Spawn.
No, it wasn't.
No, there wasn't.
And there was Black Dynamite. It was incredibly depressing. So, like, walking into this movie, we weren't going to go see it, and then we decided to go see it because we were invited. And I was fucking worn down before, like, the credits even started. I was just like, oh, for fuck's sake. This is this massive, ridiculous thing. This is why the human race doesn't deserve to, continue, because we get this upset about things like this. It's all fine. It could be good, but we can't have nice things, I guess. And then, Aaron, what did you think of Captain Marvel?
I don't think I can say I went in trying to like it or trying to hate it for the aforementioned reason, because I didn't want to give anyone the satisfaction.
Yeah.
And so as such, I just had to quite uncomfortably watch it. I thought it was boring. I thought it was quite poorly structured. In the same way Bird Box...
Okay.
It's March and we're mentioning Bird Box again. In the same way that Bird Box sort of like gave away its ending at the beginning, I feel like this this sort of like took a lot of the tension away from me, because even like aside from my knowledge as someone who does comic books, and I try not to think about the comic books, the film itself informed me in this of like the central, what I thought was going to be the central mystery, which was, where does Carol Danvers come from? By the 30-minute mark, if not sooner, it couldn't wait to tell me that she was an Earth pilot, and then she doesn't catch up to what we know for another 30 minutes or so, and so what could have been a pretty entertaining first act is sort of like devoid of tension. Then there's like a fairly fun road trip second act
with Nick Fury,
and just a completely and then a completely laborious space act, third act, combat full of pop songs and grunge songs, and I was just kind of bored, unimpressed. There wasn't as many good character beats. There was some good ones with Nick Fury, and there was some fun ones with her friend, the pilot. But I mean, in regards to Captain Marvel's actual contribution, I was just completely uninterested in her. I thought she was quite mean. She came across as kind of psychotic at points.
Right.
There was a couple of moments where I think the directing might have been better, where she came across as human. But again, I wasn't sure whether she was supposed to be, because she supposedly has no memory of being human, is only raised by aliens, but that doesn't come across.
Or
if it does, it's not lampshaded. It wasn't very well done. I don't know what happened. I don't know whether the oversight on this one was less than on the other ones. I don't know whether the person who wrote Tomb Raider is... They hired this person having watched Tomb Raider, which I think I've told you before is a terrible idea, because that film's terrible. And if I was to hire that woman, I would be very clear that I would be looking over what she does, and because I think she's got some great ideas. You just need to change them.
What's her name, Eric? Fair enough. Okay. Well, he's referring to the screenwiter of the movie Tomb Raider.
She's called Geneva. Sorry, she's called Geneva something.
The Geneva Convention.
The Geneva Convention, which she violates, imprisoning me in a cinema for 2.5 hours. Short of like a few charming moments, it just was kind of didn't impress me. What about you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I felt bad, because obviously we had fairly different experiences. You came out of it quite bored. You trudged on through it. I was pleasantly surprised by this movie. So the first like 15 minutes, movie starts, space stuff is happening, they're going to a planet I don't care about any of the characters. It's like the most forgettable part of the movie. It's like they're doing like world building, and I'm just sitting there like, this world building is very good, this is another Marvel movie, I wonder if I'll forget this in the same way I forgot Thor the Dark World. That being said, when she was actually in the custody of the, like, is it the Kree?
No, so the Kree are the people she's with, the Skrull are the Skrull are the green guys.
Oh,
the Skrull are Ben Mendelsohn.
What a silly thing for me to mix up. So when she was in the custody of the Ben Mendelsohn folk, they were doing like the whole fuckery with her memory, and I was like, okay, cool, whatever. Then she breaks out, she starts fighting them, I'm just like, boring. That being said, from that point on, all the way through to the end of the movie, I was actually completely engaged. The reason was, there are loads of flaws with this movie. Some of them I personally didn't feel. Brie Larson is a little bit all over the place. Sometimes she's interesting, most of the time she's not. Sometimes she's fun, sometimes she's a dick. But generally, I realised that I hate movies these days. No one seems to know how to pace anything anymore, and there is always a really extended period of a good like 20 to 25 minutes in any movie I go to see these days that's like a blockbuster, where I'm really, really bored. And it's been going on for so long, and it's either in some difficult period in second act, or if it's just moving forward into the third, where, I mean, I'm not even looking at my phone because like I'm worried that I'm going to miss something, but I'm just fucking bored. And I was starting to think that this was a problem with me and my attention span. But no, I just think people are getting worse and worse at writing scripts because of like guaranteed audiences for movies this big. Whereas with Captain Marvel, if I could say one good thing about it, like scene to scene, I was really engaged, and it was really refreshing, despite any of its flaws. And that may seem like damning with faint praise, but that's actually weirdly one of the best compliments I can give a movie.
I mean, I'm glad. Obviously, I never want someone to not enjoy a film. It just didn't click right. I'm trying to work out where it lost me. Like I said, I think obviously a bad start with it was really sort of like a Iraqi ops sort of thing. Like it was like a desert planet. There was like sniper rifles. They were talking about like extractions and natives and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm really bored of us framing every space conflict as just an extension of an Earth conflict. Like Philip K. Dick was managing to mix it up with just a pen and paper ages ago. You have the world of visuals that make something more interesting. Like make it in a city. It was just like in a desert camp somewhere. Make it anywhere. Like they're essentially trying world building, but they didn't bother to make a world. They just made Iraq.
Yeah, well, I will agree with you that her realization that actually, she wasn't fighting insurgents. Really, she was the arm of an imperium that was oppressing people. Yeah, this is a fuck-witted Hollywood screenwriter's idea of what was going on in your complex conflicts. It's like the 9/11 truth narratives in movies, like in Star Trek Into Darkness and stuff, that really piss me off. They always involve false flags, because I know that the people who put them in there, like Damon Lindelof, actually do believe in 9/11 truth, and that's why they frame their movies that way.
Yeah, it was
that's irritating.
Created some uncomfortable parallels, because if we sort of take that and, you know, big old Captain Marvel spoilers, if you take that as an extension, like, her thing is, like, she serves in Iraq, she realizes America is bad, and then she kills her entire platoon.
Yep.
Like, she has the actions of a fucking maniac. Also, she kills the entire platoon while I'm Just a Girl plays in the background.
Anyone who's not too ideologically far gone, I feel, has agreed unanimously that scene was completely ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. I can't think of another thing in a Marvel film. The only film I can think of that did something like this is our first DC film, Suicide Squad, where it had like that, she's a girl, she's fighting, let's play I'm Just a Girl. I'm amazed it made it in. I'm amazed someone, like, where was Kevin Feige? Was he not just like, was he too...
He was counting his money, Aaron.
He normally picks up on these consistency issues. Other films he stepped in and gone, well, that's just kind of silly, that's not what we do. We don't, and especially, like, we don't really do non-diegetic pop music that much in Marvel.
Where this misstepped with that is that in Guardians of the Galaxy, the reason for that music being there is a really character beat. He's frozen in his youth, and he only had a tape deck from, you know, this like really specific period in like the fucking 80s or whatever.
Yeah, makes perfect sense as to why all those songs are there.
In this, however, despite the fact that the movie had a perfect reason to have that music involved in the background on radios.
A Sony CD or something.
Well, it was as well as a period piece, so they could have just had scenes where it was on the radio, could have like bad guys that were like vulnerable to sound, so you have to pump up some Nirvana, you have to pump up some Come
like
As You
Star Trek Beyond,
exactly.
No, I wrote it.
But see, this is the thing, it's an easily resolved situation, and they had all of the pieces there to fix this, but instead they just had a record player in a simulation playing Come As You Are for no reason, which was really weird and distracting, and then I'm Just a Girl. But anyway, as I said, I still found the movie engaging. I felt that the plot developed in a fairly decent way. She was quite boring.
Let's analyse the plot of this
film.
Okay. So Carol Danvers is a space marine, a part of a unit, a seemingly elite unit, though never really classified where they fall within Kree society. No. And again, Kree society is kind of fascinating.
They ride the tube.
They do ride the space tube.
Yeah.
I wonder if the space tube is beset by space Iraqis.
Or space delays.
Ah.
Things like National Rail.
They run by a Supreme AI. I'm sure that wouldn't cause space delays. She made the trains run on time, the Supreme Intelligence. That's why everyone voted for her. I wonder if they vote.
Definitely not.
So Carol Danvers, Space Marine, realizes that she might not be everything she's told she's been. Crash lands on Earth, and I guess where it kind of falls apart is they try and do sort of like the Ben Mendelsohn Skrull twist.
That worked for me, by the way.
Did it?
Yeah, no, it worked.
But did you not have that thing you were talking about where it's like clearly like Iraq War imagery, imperialism bad?
Yes, but still no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
because of that, again, like that. Obviously, there's been lots of different editions of the Skrull. Skrull is a film.
Yeah.
The Skrull Kree War. Yeah, it just came from there. I was just like, oh, she's going to be on the wrong side because we know the Kree are bad. They have Ronan.
So the thing is, I was not because it's just sci-fi names being thrown into a blender.
Okay.
I know who.
It's because they don't mean as much.
Yeah, and it's because it's like I don't care that much about. Despite the fact I've engaged with almost all of it, I don't have that much of a respect for the Marvel Cinematic Expanded Universe to really pay too much attention. Okay. So because Ronan, functionally in the story Guardians of the Galaxy, was a pointless villain who had like a weird theocrat kind of character tag on him that was never explored.
So he's an accuser. Yeah. So you know they call him Ronan the Accuser.
Yeah.
He is an accuser. He's not the accuser. I guess he is. He's the accuser in as much as he is Ronan the accuser. Yeah. But he is one of many accusers.
That's fine. But the point I'm making is you know this stuff, but we've agreed before that like while we like Guardians, he kind of just shows up. He is fleshed out just enough to make you weirded out that he's not fleshed out more, and he's just another placeholder villain in a Marvel movie. Yep. For this reason, my functional brain, which can be described as nothing but just functional, does not retain something like he's one of the Kree or the Skrull, or whatever the bastard. So when they show up in this, it wasn't even clear to me that they were affiliated with him. Ben Mendelsohn as well plays villains so much and plays them so well.
Oh, so he was just like, got a bit comfortable with his casting.
Yeah. Okay, and he was doing it good. Like even when he was attacking the humans and stuff. So I was like, yeah, no. So when it turned out actually that they were good guys and we were to side with them, I was like, oh, that's cool. That's interesting. And I was on their side. I was like, oh yeah, fuck those guys up.
I think again, just a little. At that point, it was the slow train to reveal town for me. When she's hunting them, at that point, that scene loses all tension when she's hunting them, hunting Ben Mendelsohn, hunting all that, because you're like, oh yeah, she's a. Because what a depressing story that would be if they just they'd hunted them to the edge of extinction and then they just finish off the last one.
Yeah, here we are. We're here to finish the genocide.
Exactly, it would be horrendous. And then,
one of the things that made me laugh about this movie and the reception it's been getting is that, despite, I know that we've said, it had a little bit of the iconography of like Iraq and stuff right at the beginning, but that being said, I felt like it was a movie that was surprisingly lacking in subtext. It really, because the central character didn't really have... There may have been an arc in there somewhere, but because it was so poorly executed, and that she was so identical at the beginning of the movie to the person she was at the end...
For a heavily politicised movie, it was surprisingly apolitical.
Yeah. There was no scene in it. Well, I mean, so there was that bit right at the end, spoilers again for this movie that is not particularly surprising, where she doesn't fight Jude Law and says, I have nothing to prove to you, but like, that's basically it. And I thought it was hilariously anticlimactic. I mean, they maybe could have... That idea of him being a kind of paternal male figure who turns out to be quite a toxic presence in her life could have been quite interesting.
Could have been great.
As it was... It wasn't even bad, it was just dickless, like, it was just there. I was like, okay.
Well, it was there for that line, and and then everyone could be like, yeah, I have nothing to prove, and it feels good. But it does, not earned. And I think, you're saying, like, you miss films being paced.
Yeah.
I miss films having themes. Not even having themes, because this thing can claim to have things. I miss films committing to their themes. Yeah, because, like, there was that. There was I have nothing to prove to you. I always stand up, which is obviously a great character trait.
Yeah.
And again, like, neither I have anything to prove to you, nor I stand up, nor even the bit at the beginning, really, where the man's like, it's called a cockpit for a reason.
Yeah.
Those are three separate themes. Each of which appears in, first act, second act, third act.
Isolation.
None of them link to one another. All of them are pretty great. If you just replaced either one of the other two with a theme that supported the other one, I would have liked this one a lot more, because she'd have earned or something.
With it's called a cockpit for a reason. So I see lines of dialogue like that in movies these days. There's an initial like wince, I'm like, that's dumb. But then I remember that there are actually people like that in really close proximity to us who would say things like that. So then I walk it back and I'm like, yeah, exactly what you said.
If I respect it. There are people who say that and it is dumb, but you've got to throw it in there and be like, I've done my good deed for the day. I'm a feminist.
Exactly, but that's the point. I'm just like, listen, okay, like, you're going to do that. Do it. Let's have that be what this film is about. Either you're going to make a movie where you're either going to take the Star Trek approach, you're showing a reality that is completely devoid of the prejudices that we have today as a way to give us something to strive for, which isn't what they did. So they could have done that kind of Captain Marvel, where she's just completely on par with all of the men, and it's not even a thing, Star Trek. Or they could have done something that really got down into the nitty-gritty of prejudices, it exacerbated them, it emphasises them, and then developed that as the story. But it really didn't do either of these things. Kind of was...
It didn't want to do either of them. I think it wanted to have its little line that it could put in the trailer.
Yeah.
I don't think it wanted to think about it any more than that, because thinking about it any more than that could have been a politic, and it didn't.
Subversive.
Exactly. It didn't want to engage in that. It wanted again to have its cake and eat it. Like it wanted to be able to say, I've got nothing to prove to you. I always stand up. Empowering, quite good images, like perfectly cinematic, perfectly represented. They clearly shot 5 different female actresses standing up, which was a waste of time because it didn't mean anything. You see several of those associated scenes, but apparently in the actual standing that will be referenced at the end as like the pinnacle was not worth putting in those other 3 times.
No, all they had to do, I mean, it was there at the end. All they had to do was set it up slightly better at the beginning. And I mean, even so, okay, let's fix it. So you get your stupid bastard scene at the beginning where I'm completely disengaged and they go to, neutralise some refugees, which is literally what like the Space Force or whatever we're doing.
Space.
So in that, okay, before getting captured, she ends up in a situation where she gets knocked down and she's scared, and I don't know, one of her teammates is in some kind of danger. Now she can put herself in danger to save that person, but that will result in her capture. Bang, she fucking stands up to do it.
Yeah, she stands up. I mean, again, not the most interesting action, but it is an action.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're like, okay, I've seen her stand up once, and that doesn't mean anything to you at that point, but you will do by the end of it. Then you have a couple of the interspersed flashback kid moments. So you have her at the race car. You need to show her standing up from that. Maybe she tumbles out the go-kart and stands up. She doesn't stand up in the go-kart. That is ridiculous. Then there's the one where she falls off at the military training barracks. She falls off the rope.
Yeah.
You need to show her standing up there. I think there should be a standing up scene when she's being attacked in the Marvel light speed ship.
Yeah.
You show her standing up, and then I still think she needs to earn her powers rather than just being an idiot and accidentally getting them, because that's not empowering. Then you need to show it again 2 more times, one of when she's standing up to her old patrol unit, and then again finally with old Judy Law, which will parallel the first time she stands up when he does the karate throw on her. And then bang, you've got 7-8 stand-ups. The film is beautifully linked through by the fact she doesn't give up, and that's what makes her a superhero. As it stands, what makes her a superhero is her pathological urge to wisecrack at the most inopportune time.
Okay, so I have 2 examples of where that happens that's better, but before we do that, I'll just say about the wisecracking. It's like someone who doesn't really understand movies would watch Guardians of the Galaxy, because so Peter Quill is always doing these wisecracks, but the reason he's doing it is because he's a child in a man's body. That's actually his character. He never properly grew up. That's why that works.
Arrested Development.
And this maybe doesn't, as far as a character piece. As I said again, fully engaged me throughout the plot. That's good. So yeah, Mulan. In the greatest movie montage of all time, Mr. I'll Make a Man Out of You, you see her at the beginning failing to climb up a stick, got a giant log in the ground, and it's pack up.
She's got to wrap 2 weights around it, and then she's got to climb up, and she doesn't.
So throughout the course of the song about bettering yourself, even with obviously the subtext, finally at the end of it, she reaches the top, and it shows that her perseverance, she didn't give up, and even in the face of having been ejected, told to go away, then she managed to do it. Fine, there you go, it works. Then we can take it from another movie that's actually a superhero movie. In Batman Begins, we get flashbacks at the beginning showing... In fact, no, I think it's the first scene in Batman Begins. You see fucking young Bruce Wayne running. He falls into a well. There's loads of bats in there. That's scary, Batman. And then also, Mr. Wayne, his father, fucking paraglides down or whatever the shit. And says...
abseils down, doesn't it?
Yeah, abseils, thank you. Paragliding, definitely. He says, why do we fall, Bruce? So we can learn to pick ourselves back up. And then this is repeated later in the movie. And an obvious character beat.
And later in, through Dark Knight into Dark Knight Rises. So,
why do we fall, Bruce? And it's that simple. So I think that what was frustrating for me is that to have improved this movie massively would have taken minor engagement.
With only the footage they currently have to hand as well, basically. It's just so disappointing, because it should be good. As much as, the people who dislike it, I don't like. And, and they shouldn't have more ammunition than they need. There's a good movie in here. There's a good movie about Carol Danvers. Carol Danvers is a fascinating character. Carol Danvers is primarily fascinating to me because she believes in a very different type of justice to everyone else, and I think you could really make that work. But I don't think they really wanted to make anything work. They just knew that, like you said, they knew that they could just make a film that they could release it a month before Endgame, and that everyone would go see it.
These are our opinions. I will never watch this movie again.
Nope.
However, it made me... I was impressed by what I thought was its decent pacing, and... it just sounds like the worst compliment ever, but I really mean it. It made me basically forgive the criticism that I have of it, because I was just engaged, and it made me annoyed at other movies for not being just interesting in a very simple way, just scene to scene. So
I mean, pacing can make something a great movie-going experience, where otherwise it shouldn't have been. So I understand it.
Yeah, it made me more annoyed at other movies. It was pleasantly surprising. I have absolutely no interest in watching it again. But I mean, I could say that about
every Marvel film, maybe.
Yeah. Nearly every one of them. Now, our final subject, I guess, is what does this mean for Avengers Endgame moving forward, and how are we feeling about that? Because we just watched the new trailer together, and
trailer that dropped about 5 days ago. Yeah, I mean, things that I feel...
After this, what are we thinking about how this leads in? Because I didn't like Infinity War. I don't know how you felt about it.
It was fine.
Boring. Actually, I do have a quick question for you. Did you think this movie was better or worse than Infinity War? Because I thought it was better.
I thought it was worse.
Fair enough.
But that's just because, when I think about Infinity War, when I think positively about Infinity War, which isn't that often, but I do sometimes, I think about funny character beat interactions. You're embarrassing me in front of the wizard. I think about Thanos, who I actually quite like. I think about some nice things when I think about Infinity War. When I think about this, I think I will just think about how impressed I was that they de-aged Samuel L. Jackson so well.
That was super impressive, though.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm probably going to think more about the actual hate behind the film than anything else, and that's kind of sad.
That is depressing.
Yeah, Infinity War. I think I liked it more than you back in then, but that was not by much. It was probably like a score point in it, if I recall. Not excited for this one, which I should be, considering everyone's coming back, and obviously they had their snap.
And we've invested so much to like we're not on the outside of this. We're very much in it. We've invested a lot of time and a lot of money.
I mean,
in this franchise.
Have you seen all of them? Because I don't think I've seen all of them.
I haven't seen all of them, mate. But you know what?
No. I'm saying 17 films is more than enough.
No, that's what I mean. I wasn't disagreeing with you. It's just I don't need to have seen. I haven't seen Thor Ragnarok. That's my big missing one. But,
the one I am Ant-Man and the Wasp. I think is the one I have not seen.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen that one either. I really like Ant-Man though.
A couple others I think I only watched a best of for the Dark World, because fuck was I watching that?
Did you ever watch that movie?
No, like I said, I watched the Christopher Eccleston stuff. I watched the bit where Captain America turns up and says that you should turn back.
Here's how bad this is. I watched that full movie. I don't even remember Captain America being in it. That's how.
Do you know? Because I remember the only reason I watched this. Here's a weird thing for you. So. You know, those little magazines you get at the cinema. It said who's in which film back in 2013, and it said, "Oh, Captain America shows up in Thor: The Dark World." Okay. And I was like, "No one mentioned that.
I need to find that out."
And so I watched it on YouTube, and it's just a little scene where Loki's pretending to be Captain America, and he's just like, "You're a bit of a shit, Thor." And Thor's like, "Man, maybe I'm a bit of a shit."
Wait a second, no.
He's like, "No, I'm not a shit. You're the shit." So anyway, that actually quite nicely leads into how vapid and fucking ridiculous the MCU is.
Yeah.
And this trailer looks bad. Yeah, I overexposed.
Yeah.
There's a weird filter they've put on the flashbacks. They're trying to make it all round. They're like, oh shit, the only way that anyone's gonna think this is really great is if we harken back to the beginning a lot. So you get each of the big three. Amazingly enough, they don't harken back to Ed Norton's The Hulk, but they harken back to they harken back to the other three, and there's 4 Iron Man, Captain America, all thinking about how they got here. Tony Stark talks about the cave, or talks about being a brash prince.
Yeah,
it just doesn't really work for me.
The problem I'm having with it is, so to be clear, had Captain Marvel been set up as this story-ending powerhouse earlier in this series, this wouldn't have been a problem for me. But the fact that they had to rush out a film in the months preceding the final chapter in at least this stage of the Marvel movies,
I believe it's called Phase 4. Phase 3? This might be the end of Phase 3.
But this is what I mean. No, that's important because it's several fucking phases, and only right now, a few months before they're releasing this one, they're going, a month. Okay, that's even worse. Oh, by the way, there's this one character who's really super powerful and she's going to completely resolve the plot of the next one. Okay, but when that happens, I feel that there's no way for this next movie to avoid everyone else seeming completely impotent. If I'll say one good thing about Infinity War, which I said to you at the time, was that I admired its sense of cosmic doom. Yeah. It felt hopeless at times. In a way that was confirmed by the end of the movie, which I kind of appreciated. Normally seeing these characters best every single villain that they ever face, but in this situation, I wouldn't say that they never stood a chance, because obviously all Thor had to do was aim for the head. But if you discount that piece of screenwriting, it was like they were just racing to battle something they couldn't beat.
But I thought even that piece of screenwriting was kind of fun, because he doesn't aim for the head, because he's a
hubris.
He's a kid's cartoon character. He doesn't aim for the head. He aims for
the chest.
Yeah, the chest plate.
I
thought that was alright as a bit of a commentary. But no, I know what you mean, and I think it is. I like that they lost. I think you could make a really interesting film about them dealing with loss. This doesn't seem to be it. There seems to be a lot. I don't know if you picked up on this, but he's hearing a lot of Peggy Carter. Captain America's hearing a lot of Peggy Carter in that trailer.
His girlfriend from the war. Okay.
And if you remember, Peggy Carter's catchphrase is sometimes you just got to start over. And I think that's probably what they're going to do. I think they might be about to pull some time bullshit, because I think that might be why they're going to the quantum realm. If this is Aaron's crazy theory of the week, I reckon that's why they're all in the quantum suits.
Aaron, here's why I'm okay with that, as opposed to the Captain Marvel just being the most powerful character because we retconned it and said so. They set up this stuff with Ant-Man, this quantum realm stuff. It precedes this movie by several movies. And for that reason, it coming up, and even the fact that they wouldn't necessarily think to go to Ant-Man kind of makes sense to me. So maybe
Well, they even write him off in the other one. They're like, oh, Ant-Man and Hawkeye are gone. Or not here, but who cares?
Yeah. And in Civil War, where they're all in jail, and Ant-Man like comes up to the bars and he says, "Yeah, it's just like Pym said, never trust a Stark." And Tony's just like, "I don't know who you are."
Yeah.
Like that's funny. And yeah, so his powers were set up early enough in the entire narrative that I'm okay with that being part of the reason that they eventually defeat Thanos, but I'm worried about how Captain Marvel is going to involve herself in this story and suddenly fix things. Because as far as I can see, by the way, all Captain Marvel can do is shoot fire out of her hands. That's not that amazing.
I mean, yeah.
Iron Man shoots fire out of his hands.
It's true, and that's what I was actually going to say earlier. I think Infinity War did well, was it had like, you've been gradually scaling up the power level of these characters. Like they dealt with the Chitauri, and then they dealt with Ultron, and then they dealt with each other. They'd been getting better and better, and then they dealt with Thanos, but they couldn't actually do a Thanos. In regards to what Captain Marvel can do, I think the easiest way to think about it is that Captain Marvel is roughly like Superman level powers.
Yeah,
like she's really strong. Like think of the fire out of hands as like fire as lasers out of eyes, super strength and super flight and all that. And you basically got what she's doing. She can like drag Thanos into a black hole or whatever. She's capable of space flight.
All of this may turn out to be wrong, and I'd like it to be wrong because I want this long-winded saga that I've been through, and I've been going to see movies since I was like 14 or something, to come to a fun conclusion. But if Captain Marvel is really supposed to be as powerful and as like Deus Ex Machina as we're expecting her to be, I maybe would have liked this movie to end with an absolutely catastrophic show of force that eventually like resulted in her containment. A bit like Ganon in Zelda. It's like it's just contained in like the Shadow Realm or something, only to be pulled
like
out
Dark
later
Phoenix
on.
or something, or like
then all the Avengers to have to go and like pull her out,
like a sacrifice.
No, yeah,
I mean that would work. Again, it would seem a bit arbitrary that she arrives in the sacrifices, but it's always going to seem arbitrary at this point because she's arrived so late.
Because it's retconning.
Yeah, I mean personally, I would rather it be sort of like the other way around. I would rather that she perhaps goes too far, like curb stomping Thanos as she can. Thanos obviously isn't interested in fighting anymore because he's done it. And maybe they're all just like a bit overcome by the brutality of it all.
Okay,
because that would be more in keeping with her character. Given the character, she'd be like, there's no point in just wailing on this guy. He can't do anything. He's already done the crime. We need to think of something else. There's no point them going. There's the thing everyone's talking about, them going to like go beat up Thanos. There's no point in beating up Thanos. Beating up Thanos doesn't do anything.
He doesn't care. You know what? I'm interested to see Thanos post snap. He was doing it. I mean, whether or not it was good or not, for what he believed to be good reasons. And I feel like when they first go to confront him, he'll do an almost
like Heath Ledger, where he's like, "You have no power over me," sort of thing. Or...
No, Ozymandias. There you go.
Oh, like I already did it.
No, well, yeah, Night Owl is smacking him, and he's just not punching him back because he's already beat him. And like, I wonder if something like that will happen with Thanos because he's already accomplished what he set out to accomplish.
So I think it will happen.
Revenge.
So from the trailer, again, like I know, I like to do is I like to try and parse where everything is in the trailer to where it will be in the film. And that's what I take. The one thing I can't parse is actually where Captain Marvel for the 4-bit appears in the film. If I had to guess, again, I don't have as much concrete evidence for this as I have for the other parts. I think that appears before what I'm going to call the first Thanos raid. And so what I think it will go is sort of like Grief and Reconciliation. Hawkeye will be sort of like the metric of vengeance. Into Captain Marvel, into Thor, seeing, I like this woman, blah, 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 blah. Into first Thanos raid, beat up Thanos, doesn't do anything. They're like, shit, why are we here? We've found him, we've tracked him down. I'll actually, if you want, tell you in a minute what Thanos does in Infinity War, the comic book, once he's done his snap. But anyway, and then I think it will go back to Earth. What the hell are we doing with our lives? Into Ant-Man appearing at the gate, being like, "Hey guys, it's me, I'm Ant-Man," and then into Phantom Suits, into Resolved. That's my prediction. In Infinity War, the comic book. Spoilers for Infinity War, the comic book. If you've not read it at this point, 8 years after the fact, Thanos does his snap. The entire cosmic pantheon comes up and curb stomps him into the ground.
Really?
Yeah.
What, minus Death, who's in love with
Death as well. Death
who told him to do it?
Death who... Because he only does it... Death doesn't tell him to do it. He does it as what he believes to be a suitable token of appreciation.
Right.
Death is actually really furious when that's one of the things that breaks him down.
Okay.
In the end, it's actually Nebula gets the gauntlet after it's been wrestled off Thanos. Thanos actually... kills nearly every Avenger, including Iron Man, Captain America, for like brutalistically, like not like a snap, just like actual punching to death.
Okay. Fuck.
Yeah, it's kind of horrible. The glove gets removed by someone. I think it's a combination of like Death and someone else that he wasn't expecting to betray him. I can't quite remember.
Right.
And then Nebula puts it on, and goes fucking insane because she can't handle it.
Okay.
And then the Cosmic Pantheon has to beat her, curb stomp her. And when I'm talking the Pantheon, I'm talking like Galactus rocks up. I'm talking like every like giant behemoth.
Oh man, but I hope that happens.
It won't happen.
Don't say that.
It won't, because none of those have been set up. Imagine if Galactus appears and just starts a curb stomping.
No, fuck that. Imagine if in this movie, like the best kept secret, it was all that fucking Galactus and the Silver Surfer show up and shit. I would love that.
That would be amazing.
Where's my fucking Silver Surfer?
But like,
I haven't thought about this for fucking years. Hang on a second. No, where the fuck is the Silver Surfer? I love the Silver Surfer.
I agree. Like, so, like, there's another guy, I can't really, I think, again, it's been a long time since I read it, I think I'm going to say his name's Cosmatos, but I think that's the guy who directed The Favourite.
That was Milo Yiannopoulos.
Oh, no, that was Varoufakis. No. A Greek man shows up. No, so basically there's a superhero who embodies the universe.
Yeah.
And he shows up, and Thanos punches him to death at one point.
Okay.
And upon punching him to death, he becomes the universe, but by becoming the universe, he
that makes sense.
This is the thing.
I love comics.
Comics are fucking
dumb.
Yeah. So he becomes the universe, but because he becomes the universe, he has no hand, which means he doesn't have the Infinity Gauntlet anymore. And that's when Nebula picks up. I'm remembering it now. Sorry. So that's why. So anyway, so he then.
I hope none of this happens.
Yeah, no. So then Nebula. No, then they undo it. I can't remember. Someone puts it on. Might be Thor. Probably Nebula. Probably someone.
Yeah.
Puts it on. Undoes it all. But Thanos then runs away, and no one can find him. But they all want to find him because obviously he's like Galaxy No. 1. He's the person who's done this before. They want to end it, and they find him. They find him in this lovely scene. Actually, they find him just on this random little planet. And they find him, he's just a farmer. And he's just like there, he's tending to his crops. That's all he does. He doesn't know anyone. There's no one else on this planet in proximity. And it's just him, and they go to him, and he says like, I knew, by having the Infinity Gauntlet, I knew everything that would happen.
Yeah. In
doing that, I knew that I would eventually be defeated, and there was nothing I could do about it. He just talks about... Essentially, he sort of like rounds the whole thing off as like that he was doomed to fail, but didn't know what else to do.
Okay.
And he goes back to farming.
Yeah.
And it's alright. It's a nice little close off. And I'd be interested to know. It mirrored the bit where he just sits down on that little green planet. In Empire magazine.
Of course.
I wouldn't mind something like that for him. I wouldn't mind if he didn't die. I wouldn't mind if he just retired. Like if he was just. I think they have done the groundwork with him as a villain to have him be not like destroyed or go into his own glowing laser or whatever. I think it would be nice if he just...
They've killed enough villains.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't mind him just like... Yeah, like that. Because I got a bit of pathos from that when he sat down and he was just like, what did it cost everything? And he's sort of like...
Yeah.
Woundedly admires a sunset. I wouldn't mind something like that again.
As a closing thing, for me, if that's okay, one thing I'm hoping for from Endgame is that knowing that his motivation for snapping half the population of the universe was a bit more complex in like comics. So yeah, knowing that it was a bit more complicated then left me really, really annoyed at the movie where all that Thanos really said to justify his... I mean, genocide doesn't even cut it. Universide.
Cosmocide.
Cosmocide is a great way of putting it. He was just like, yeah, on my planet there was famine and there were just too many people to support. And then, yeah, I was like, oh, wouldn't it be great if we just killed half of everyone? It's like, yeah, okay, but it was just like, oh, perfectly balanced as all things should be. And there was nothing about death, you know, like the cosmic entity.
I think
just nothing. It was dumb.
And I get that
I hope it's developed more. I hope it retrospectively fixes things about Infinity War that I didn't like. Because that, for me, I like it when the next thing in a series... It's like when a third act kind of fixes the second act. That happens for me a lot.
Definitely.
And I hope that happens here.
No, I agree. And I think the problem is, they almost want to veer away from cosmic stuff.
Yeah.
But while focusing on perhaps... while emulating perhaps the most cosmic arc of
Marvel.
Of like a Marvel event that ever happened, which was the Infinity Wars, which was the Infinity Gauntlet arc. You know, there's so many characters missing from this... in the comic books, and I know things don't need to perfectly mirror the comics. You have what you have, but like one of the main characters of Infinity Gauntlet is just a guy called Adam Warlock, and you know, I guess he's a bit like Doctor Strange, but he's not even bound to Earth really, not properly. Like he's so mystic and so strange, and he's actually the one who puts the gauntlet on and reverses it. Sorry, there you go. That's close that loop in my head. I'm remembering all this from like 12 years ago, so forgive me if any of it's an outright forgery.
Fuck them.
But yeah, so I think the problem is that they want to have their cosmic cake and eat it because they are so they so want this Thanos arc, but they don't want any of the associated, like Galactus or Cosmatos, which is now his name.
It's like Brexit. They had time.
Exactly. They had Guardians. They had everything. And I think I would love it if
I was ready for it as well.
Yeah, I would love to walk away from this film and just be like, perfect. That was great. I could now not watch one of these because everything's resolved, or I can continue to watch them and see how Anthony Mackie is doing when he becomes Captain America, which is again another prediction of mine. And so I'm obviously going to watch it. Ain't that great?
I look forward to it in a weird way, and I guess that wraps it up. Nice one.
Yes.
We've been Check for Traps.
We do not endorse nor not endorse Captain Marvel, or do we? Would you recommend to see it? There we go. That's the final closing.
Fuck, man. I mean, my delay in answering that means probably no, but at the same time, I think that it's a sad indictment of most other blockbusters that I found this as engaging as I did. It's just like, it's fine. Like, it reminded me, and I am copying like other things that people have said here, but it reminded me of movies from the 90s that I liked in looking back at them. Like Stargate. Stargate is a really dumb movie, but Stargate is also just from start to finish completely engaging. I don't get that a lot anymore. That's all I have to say. People need to take note.
No, I agree. I mean, it's like, well, again, not to harken back. I think it made me realise what a poor state we're in when I can watch Venom and enjoy it only because it's an hour and a half long.
Exactly.
It's just, there's something about the lost art of pacing.
This didn't feel 2 hours to me, and I find that very impressive.
Amazingly enough, I would not recommend Captain Marvel, but not because I hate women.
He says.
End.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ho ho!